this is a replication of my office at home, but this is not my office at home. This is sort of I've just deliberately copied it so that I'm not in the
Down
right
to the finest,
down to the
minute
finest
detail.
detail. It's there's some films that do that, isn't there? Like abduction films where they. Oh no! I'll tell you what it is. It's Ocean's 11 when they replicate
Right.
the bank vault, and it's the exact
Ah,
copy of the real bank vault, and then they steal that bank vault, and he thinks they're
got a
stealing the
confession.
real. Yeah, you've never
I
seen
don't think I've
Ocean's
ever.
11.
Yeah, I know of it. I know it's a good heist movie. I've just never actually seen it
Do you know why? Do you know why you've
because
never seen it? It's because all you do is watch anime.
it is all I do. It's the only thing that I ever do. I'm even wearing a manga
Yes, you
pajama
are.
shirt at the
You
moment.
are.
So yeah, I'm outing myself as a bit of a loser. I skip one of the greatest heist films of all time. Instead, I'm watching Digimon or
It is. It is one of the greatest heist films of all time. They've run it into the ground a little bit, haven't they? There's several. There's an Ocean's.
yeah,
There's a
eight. Is that the newest
Ocean's
one?
8. Is that with the whole women cast where it's
Yes.
everyone's? I haven't seen it. But I'm assuming everyone's the same as Ocean's 11, except there's 8 of them and they're female, and they just
Yeah,
do the same sort of thing.
I
Um,
think so. Like
have
the
you seen?
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, have you seen the Ghostbusters one? I haven't seen that either.
No,
No.
not seen the Ghostbusters one. I didn't think it looked good, and I also didn't really like the second Ghostbusters. So
What I do really
I
want to see
didn't.
though is the modern Ghostbusters with the old.
Oh, with the Stranger Things kid with Finn
Yes.
Wolfhard.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It looks pretty good.
Yeah. Speaking of Stranger Things, mate,
Good. Finished off.
so good. I've got one episode to go. I was watching it last night, and I watched episode 7, and it finishes on such a good cliffhanger. And it's like,
Damn.
and yeah, I
It's
really
right
want it.
there.
Lucy's just started watching it. She's watching it upstairs.
Oh, right
She's
now.
from episode 1. Yeah. Uh,
Oof.
like I
I
tried to
like
get
how
her to
she's been
watch it.
banished to the bedroom. Go watch Stranger Things. Don't talk to me till you're caught up.
No, well, she said I'm thinking about watching it, so I put it on last night, and she wouldn't watch it because it was too late and too dark. It's too scary.
Too
Yeah.
scary. Scary, spooky monsters. Oh no.
So because all you do is watch anime, I've got a question
Yeah.
for you.
All right. Hit me.
Should anime be banned? And if actually, I'm gonna caveat that, right, because
Be banned.
I'm not gonna say banned. I'm gonna say should it come with a warning?
Come with
I
a
was,
warning. Okay.
yeah, like
Like a content warning at the start of an episode.
yeah, at the start of every episode of every anime.
Every episode.
I mean,
Wow.
maybe not every anime because it potentially that would be a bit overkill. But there is an argument,
Yeah,
like
I'm just.
you see it in the media, don't you, about countries not allowing
Mm.
anime or banning it, and certain shows are
Or
banned in
censoring
certain
it in certain
countries.
ways.
Yeah,
Yeah. A really fun thing in China at the moment. Spy X Family, which is like the big hot anime at the
you've been
moment.
watching that, haven't you?
I have been. It's
Yeah,
amazing. I love it.
cool.
It's being censored in China to kind of remove evidence of blood because Chinese state media and whatever.
Because people
And
aren't made of blood in
unfortunately,
China. There is
oh no,
no
absolutely not. They're made of
people don't bleed.
loyal patriotism.
Yeah. Okay.
um, but yeah, so one of the main characters, the main woman of the show, Yor, she's an assassin. And so when she was raising her younger brother, she often would go out late at night and assassinate people and come back covered in blood. And the brother was understandably worried. Now in China, in order to get around this, instead of her coming home covered in blood,
Yeah.
she comes home covered in a strange white substance.
No.
And this is considered fine for TV.
Is it implied, or is it just they've
No,
changed
there's
the
no
color?
implication there.
Okay.
They've just changed the color, but like out of context, the screenshots look horrendous.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, that's a weird way to take it. I guess it sounds like it's quite a key part of the show, so potentially they couldn't just get rid of it.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely
so
wouldn't.
are there any anime shows that you think, yep, they should definitely come with a warning? Like, do they have
Goblin
age
Slayer.
ratings? Do they have
Yeah,
age ratings? Okay.
especially when they come to the UK or the US, they get Peggy ratings or
Peggy
U15s. I've got a few.
6.
Peggy 15. That's how you knew that you were in for a pretty wild
Oh,
time as a kid. And that
absolutely.
deep voice was because it was like Peggy 7, Peggy 10, Peggy 15.
Is it the same guy that does the EA Sports one?
It's in the game.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Yes,
FIFA
both.
is losing EA Sports. Like,
I read about that the other day. Yeah,
yeah, it's
FIFA
crazy.
pulling away, and EA Sports is now doing like they're renaming it to something like Super Mega Soccer League or something.
I think it
I don't
isn't it
know.
just like EA football or something. Yeah, it's something. I'm sure it's got EA in it. But anyway, yeah, I think that's going to be really, really interesting. But that's a discussion for
Yeah.
another time. Yeah. So they come with PEGI ratings. They come with age
Yes, they do come
ratings.
with age ratings. And
But
more recently, I
mm,
think the first show that I saw, and the second you said, should any shows come with a content warning, the first thing I thought of was Goblin Slayer, because that show
never
starts
heard of it.
off immediately. It was the first time on Crunchyroll that an episode started with warning: some viewers may find these scenes unsettling. Now, bear in
Okay.
mind,
So it did come with a
there's
warning.
the it did come with a warning.
Yeah.
Now, bear in mind, this is coming from this is what like one of the first times in the history of anime where this kind of stuff happened outside of the back of the box. Because in the 80s and the 90s, there was this huge explosion of OVAs, original video animations, which made tons
Thank
of
you.
money.
I had no idea what an OVA is. Although they do have them on Attack on Titan, and I haven't watched them. But yeah.
They do.
Okay.
They're okay. They're
Yeah.
pretty good. And these OVAs were basically created for the Western audience. They were hyper violent, hyper sexual, and they were really gratuitously animated, like really detailed.
What
And
of specific shows? Well, because like what's an OVA again? What does that stand for?
an original video animation.
Okay, so
So
that all
you
right.
can get them for existing shows,
Yes.
like Attack on Titan has
Yeah.
them, and they usually come bundled with manga or with
Okay.
some other thing. But in the 90s and the 80s, they were usually passion projects by a director of some obscure manga somewhere or of a completely original property.
Okay.
And there were no content warnings for those. But
But were
now
there
it's,
any age
yeah,
ratings?
the content warning, I suppose, came on the back of the packet. It was like
Yeah.
you'd get something like go down to Blockbuster and it would be the sickest minds of Japan have created the ultimate in gore horror
Yeah.
movie madness, and so I guess counts as a bit of a rating. But
Yeah.
Crunchyroll never used to put these there
Mm.
until recently with Goblin Slayer because it opens on a really quite horrific act happening, and from there more shows now seem to feature these trigger warnings and these content warnings for stuff within the show. And yeah, not for everything. There are some shows that still are really violent and really aimed at adults that kind of get away with it, but it
Why do they
depends
get
on the
away with it?
subject matter. Usually if it's hyper violence,
Mm.
it gets away for some reason. If it's something to
Yeah.
do with say sexual assault or something of that ilk
Mm.
or bullying or suicide, then the content warnings tend to be right up front at the
Yeah.
beginning of the episode.
So
So I guess more, I guess, realistic stuff that people may have actually suffered with, tends to come with a warning.
what about just a warning in general for anime though? Like,
Warning, you're about to become a weeb.
yeah, yeah, because like there's a lot, that people criticize anime for, and there's a lot of implied stuff in all anime, isn't there? When you look at like the sexualization of people, the sexualization
Yeah,
of minors,
yeah,
and just generally the way they the things that they focus on in anime. We've spoken about it quite a bit, but there's a lot of lewdness and
hmm
over the top. What's the word?
sexualization of characters.
Sexualization of characters. Yeah, um,
Because
and
that's what sells.
yeah, that is what sells. But when there's but that's in every show, isn't it? To a certain extent.
Mm, yeah, yeah. I'm racking my brain at the moment to try and think of an example of a show where there isn't at least a bit of fan service thrown in there for to try and bring in those male viewers, but more often than not, there is usually some well-endowed woman, or the men are all super muscular and really athletic. And I I guess when you compare it to Western animation as well, if you look at like Western cartoons, they tend to reflect a wider array of body types. You tend to get
Yeah,
a lot more like Simpsons, we look at Homer's super fat, Bart's pretty chubby as a kid, whereas in
Yeah.
anime, everyone's got like an 8 pack. Everybody is the most like bombshell pin-up girl like ever.
If you were
And I
giving
suppose,
advice, if you were giving advice to like a parent about watching anime, you
okay,
you you love anime, and I'm sure you'd like
I do.
recommend shows and you'd recommend all sorts. But is there not a part of you that just thinks there is a tone here, and there is sort of like potentially an exposure that
Hmm.
people in the Western world, people who don't watch anime, don't really appreciate and don't really understand about anime, and
Hmm.
potentially there needs to be something. And again, just throwing it out there, not saying this is what needs to be, but potentially there needs to be some sort of guidance, some sort of right. This show is designed for kids, but it comes from a culture, it comes from a perspective that might not sit with your personal views, or you might not potentially be comfortable with. Um, just
Hmm.
just potentially flagging up that maybe parents need to watch the show before exposing children to it, that kind of thing.
So kind of similar to what Warner Brothers have been doing with their really old um, Looney Tunes cartoons,
Oh yeah,
where
yeah,
they
good
put
parallel.
a disclaimer up at the top saying portrayals of certain characters and races in this cartoon uh, do not align with our values today.
Mm,
But we respect that the art was made at a very different time where things were more acceptable. We do not agree with this now, but we think it's important to preserve the art as is, as it was intended at the time.
yeah,
Do you mean something kind of like that before?
yeah, potentially. It's a bit I don't know, seedy, isn't it, that these companies are putting those warnings out there, but
Mm,
really what you're doing is just making sure that you can make money off the content. Like
yeah.
you could just not put them on there if you really disagreed with it that strongly.
But yeah, but isn't that erasing history though? And to an
It's not
extent, isn't it
erasing it. It's just
almost?
not publicizing it.
Yeah, but if you're not publishing it, then how else are people going to access the content? How are people going to find the content?
Oh, it's out there, isn't it? Like you go get the VHS, you go get the
Yeah,
DVD,
I'm gonna go send a 2 to 5 year old to go
YouTube.
figure out how a cassette.
Everything's streamable
YouTube.
now. Like I bet
You
I could find.
say
I
that,
bet I
yeah,
could
but it's
find
streamable
Cinderella. I bet I could find Cinderella on YouTube in 72 parts, and it'd
in
be just
72
as
parts.
good.
Part of it's in Spanish as well.
Yeah, yeah, just that middle scene with the dwarfs.
That's the
No,
thing.
that's Snow
That's
White.
just it. I can sound like a boomer at the moment, but kids today don't understand. They don't have the patience to go through all 72 parts of Cinderella.
Well,
They
that's
want
their
to just
problem.
click and go. But this is what I mean. Like these animations, these um, cartoons, these things that were made in a different time, if we just hide them away, then
Shove them in a box.
we're kind of losing this idea that, yeah, the company did make a mistake in a faux pas in the past. They're not infallible. And by censoring it or not publishing it or hiding it away,
Yeah.
then we're kind of getting to a point where the company is managing its own image and making itself seem like it can do no wrong when they should be called out on past mistakes, and we should, and even in more recent times, we should look at what they're doing behind closed doors. Like look at Disney with their like actively getting rid of LGBT content whilst trying to promote Pride at the same time. Like
When
we
did they
should
get
be able
rid
to
of
call
LGBT? I don't
companies
know
out.
about that. What's that story? When did they get rid of
So
LGBT content?
in a bunch of
LGBT content.
their cartoons and like aimed for kids shows like Gravity Falls or I think Owl House and stuff, which had not in your face overt LGBT themes,
Hmm.
but they were implied and they were there, and it was
Hmm.
representation, right?
Yeah.
But higher ups within the company pushed to get them removed, and so those shows then ended up losing viewership and then getting ultimately cancelled. But
Oh.
every time Pride rolls around, they say, "Look, we're
Yeah.
allies, we're supporting, we're
Yeah.
doing this," and I just think it's dangerous to allow a corporation to control the narrative of their content so
Mm.
strictly. Yeah. So in regards to anime,
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a different issue in that isn't it isn't it babying you too much to
Yeah.
say
Parents should
this
know how
was
to
made
parent.
somewhere else? Yeah,
Parents should be
parents should
watching
figure it
stuff.
out.
Like they should be watching
Yeah,
everything their kids are consuming. Like they shouldn't be.
100%.
And arguably, if they're not going to see the warning anyway.
Yeah, and kids are gonna watch whatever. I remember I walked in on one of my younger cousins
Oh,
watching
where's this
a
going?
Madhouse.
Okay.
What?
Nope, just wondered where it was going. That's fine. Carry
Oh.
on. Watching Madhouse.
Where so a Madhouse animated Batman film,
Oh yeah,
and my uncle had thrown the film on, thinking, "Oh, it's Batman."
it's Batman.
I remember Batman. It was Adam West. He was running around with a big bomb. Cesar Romero had his painted over mustache. Oh,
Yeah,
it's Batman. It's for kids.
yeah,
He stuck it in. It was a 15.
yeah.
Kid at the time was 7. The first shot of the whole thing opens up with a really, really detailed sniper bullet going through a man's skull, and Batman not saving the guy in time.
Oh,
Badass,
yeah,
but not
yeah,
appropriate for kids. And
yeah,
and the he wasn't paying attention, so I had to kind of say to him, and then he came over and went, "Oh, actually, yeah, we'll turn this off and we'll put something else on." Much
yeah.
to my cousin's disdain, he really wanted to watch the violent Batman film.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he's never forgiven you for that. Is that one of those stories that comes up at Christmas
Seething.
time, where it's just like, Sam, you remember when you stopped me watching Batman? Yeah, screw
Yeah,
you,
well,
screw
now
you,
I'm the
dude.
Joker. Just like bang, head onto a pencil, right in the middle of Christmas dinner.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Dark Knight trilogy, um, similar concept. You don't show it's just Batman. It's just Batman.
Just
Like,
Batman.
and the
He's a
whole
silly man in a suit running
DC
around.
universe with a grey filter across everything. Just apart from that pop of red, that pop of maroon that comes through.
Every now and then.
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah.
But what do you think? Like in terms of the warning before an episode, would you then have it in front of American cartoons and maybe more
Well,
racy stuff? If
doesn't
we
Family
think back
Guy
when
and like American Dad, don't they come with like something?
absolutely not. The closest I
Oh,
can think of is South Park, which
oh
isn't
yeah,
a
South
content
Park.
warning. It's saying, "Oh, all the people in this show are fictitious. Please don't sue us." Like it's not to warn people about the fact that they're going to see Kenny's eyeball get dragged out by somebody.
Does South Park have an age rating?
I guess it's a
It must do. It
15
must do.
to 18.
50, yeah, it must do. What about Rick and Morty?
Rick and Morty, I don't think has it. If you watch it on Netflix, you just go straight into the opening crawl.
Yeah, it
Big
should do.
Mouth. You think about even live action stuff. Did Game of Thrones come with a content warning? Did Skins when we were younger?
Don't
They were
know.
doing all sorts of debaucherous things in there.
Don't pretend you've watched Skins. You only watched it when I
What
made you watch it.
Skins?
I only
I
you,
watched bits of Skins. I was a cool UK teenager once.
um, yeah, no,
That's a lie. I was watching
that's
Slice of
fair. But
Life for a month.
we're also very accustomed to Western media. I think the difference with anime is that people might just be naive and oblivious to and just uneducated in what anime is like and the general
Mm.
sort of feeling with anime, and potentially there just needs to be an education on what anime is and what to be aware of.
Yeah,
Because it is seedy, dude. Like there's no getting around the fact that
yeah,
there is that side to it, and it's a
yeah.
lot more overt than Western media. Like it's not what you would expect going
Mm.
into those sorts of shows. Um,
Yeah. I think it's certainly improved
mm.
from, say, the early 2000s onwards. I think anime in general, because it's become so much more mainstream,
Ooh,
the
okay.
shows that
Uh,
really take off tend to be the shows that don't have those things.
mm,
And people who see shows with those values that they maybe don't agree with tend to drop the show and not suggest it to people. So word of mouth doesn't spread and the show doesn't really explode. We
mm,
look at Sword Art Online and Attack on Titan. Yeah, there was maybe a bit of lewdness in the portrayal of, say, Asuna occasionally.
mm.
We don't
Yeah,
talk about
SAO.
16.5.
Huh.
But in general, people were more focused on the story than the underlying tones. Same with Attack on Titan. They're more like there is barely any lewdness
No,
in there
yeah,
unless you're counting Mikasa's rock hard 8 pack.
yeah,
Good lord.
or just the naked titans running around everywhere. If
Yeah, and
if that's your
even
jam.
if that's floats your boat, I'm not here
Yeah,
to judge you. We don't
yeah,
kink shame here.
no.
Um, but even more recently, you're looking at the biggest show of the season is Spy X Family, a
Oh,
wholesome show which is about a functioning, good moral family. Yeah, one of them's a spy, one of them's an assassin, but it's showing a healthy family dynamic, and that's the show that everyone's talking about. That's the show that everybody likes. I think
Is there any sketchy, etchy stuff in there?
not particularly. I mean, Yor is well endowed. She's a very attractive character, but she's not put into provocative outfits or positions.
Okay.
Her assassin outfit is a bit kind of racy, but that's because it's part of her job. She's meant to be infiltrating high society.
Oh, okay.
It's never shot in a way where it's like low camera angles. There's the panties,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
example.
yeah.
It's just I think the consumers of anime and the ones who want to seek out that sketchiest stuff are always going to exist, even in
Okay.
Japan, even in the US, the UK,
Hmm.
and the shows will keep getting made for that niche audience. But the shows that really make it and become big are going to be the shows that
Everyone
pull
can get on
away from
board
that,
with. Yeah.
yeah, and have that mainstream appeal. And I
So,
think to put a warning in front of a show like Attack on Titan or Spy Family or anything, even like Young Digimon or Sailor Moon or things like that, I think would turn off more viewers that could become big fans and support the show going forward and make it a big deal.
yeah, I mean, I get that. I think it's just a weighing up of what people want from their media. I guess I don't know. I don't know if I. Yeah, is anime mainstream now?
Mm. I guess
Is it?
that's a bit of a question for another time, I think,
Yeah,
because it's such a there's so much to go into with
yeah,
what do you define as mainstream? How does it compare? What do the numbers look like? We should go away and have a bit of a read on it.
yeah. Okay, all right, that sounds good. So are we decided then that we don't think anime should come with any warning whatsoever? It should be
Absolutely no.
it should be held to the same standards as Western media. Is that what you're saying?
I think that the consumer knows best in some regards in terms of what's popular.
Since when does the consumer know best, Sam? The consumer
Maybe I
is an
should
idiot.
rephrase. The consumer is an idiot. I've worked in retail. Like, they don't know what's going on. I think what I mean to say is the consumers who make properties as big as they are the masses and are the mainstream. I think if you were to slap a warning on every single piece of anime, why are we not doing it for every piece of Western media too?
Yeah,
Yes, the values are different, but the shows that shine through and that are going to reach the farthest will be shows that appeal the broadest. So keep the content warnings in, like Crunchyroll's doing for
mm-hmm.
really triggering scenes,
Yeah.
but I don't think we need a Warner Brothers style warning. Japan is weird.
Okay.
Beware.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think that is a good conclusion to come to. I just think all anime should be banned because it's just
Wow.
it's just
It's a
lewd
strong point.
cartoons.
You know what?
Um,
You've
yeah,
convinced me with that final argument. You managed to really turn my opinion
yeah,
around.
awesome. All right, okay. So at some point we need to discuss whether anime is mainstream or not.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's leave it there then.
Yeah. Let's leave it there.
All right.
I'll
Well,
see you later.
I'll see you later. Yeah. All right.
All
Peace
right.
out. Enjoy Japan.
Bye. I will do. Enjoy England.
Yep. I'll try.
We'll do a little walk off.